All living organisms they require energy for carrying out their daily activities. This energy is given to them by the process of glycolysis or Krebs cycle. Now, the process of glycolysis takes place in an anaerobic medium, that is, it occurs in the absence of oxygen, and that's why the incomplete breakdown of glucose occurs in this process. Whereas this incompletely broken down glucose, it undergoes another cycle in the mitochondria where ATP molecules are harvested. Once the process of aerobic respiration is completed, we have presence of 38 number of ATP from one glucose molecule, and as a result these ATP molecules can be utilized in order to perform any kind of muscular activity or any other chemical activity which is taking place in the individual. When I say muscular activity, it can be running, walking, or lifting our hand, or lifting any object from one place to another. And when I say chemical activity, it can be the process of digestion or process of circulation. So both these activities they are only taking place with the help of ATP molecules. One more thing has to be kept in mind, that these glucose molecules, when they are incompletely broken down in anaerobic respiration, if we think about the human beings, in them if it is broken down, it forms lactic acid. This lactic acid and two number of ATP molecules are formed in this process. Whereas in case of yeast cells, ethyl alcohol, the glucose molecule, when it is broken down in absence of oxygen, it forms ethyl alcohol and two ATP molecules. Again, just two ATP molecules are formed in this process. Whereas the rest, when we think about normal process of glucose breakdown, we get total of 38 number of ATP molecules. So here the number of ATP molecules is decreased, and the reason for that is we are not getting sufficient amount of oxygen, and oxygen is playing a very vital role. What is the important role? It is helping in combustion or burning the glucose molecule and extracting the ATP molecules from it. Here when I say burning, doesn't mean literally burning, it means just harvesting energy from it by various processes. And here the importance of oxygen can be very, because we are studying about the respiratory system, and respiratory system basically provides oxygen to our body. In the process of respiration or entire respiratory system, there are various organs which play a very vital role. So nose, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, alveoli, and lungs, these all play a very vital role. We'll study about each of these organs and the kind of role they have been playing in the process of respiration in details. The first organ is nose, and it is the external triangular organ which is placed in between our forehead in order to just below our eyes, and it has presence of two pores through which the movement of air takes place inside our nostrils. Once the air moves inside our nostrils, there is presence of hair as well as a temperature regulator, certain bones inside it, and few layers of thin skin. These all help in contributing various functions. First function is it helps in filtering the dust particles which have tried to enter inside our nostrils along with the air. So dust particles they are removed out with the help of the hairs or the cilia which are present in our nose. The temperature is maintained. The air which is getting inside our body, it is not of the same temperature as what our body temperature is. So it has to be turned, or it has to be converted into normal body temperature. So warming of the air takes place, as well as when the air is getting warmed, at the same time, because of secretions from our nose, there is conversion of mucus to moisture, and that helps in adding moisture to the air which is entering our, or which has entered our nose. Nose also contains certain thin bones, and these bones are known as terminal bones. These terminal bones they are covered with thin layer of cells. We already have an idea that the nose it contains epithelial cells and squamous, and these epithelial cells have ciliate these epithelial cells are ciliated. So ciliated cells helps in washing away all the dust particles, and in that way it's very important. And since these ciliated cells they have presence of mucus glands also, so they secrete mucus as well. So basically the function of nose is to trap the germs and moisten the nose, moisten the air which has entered our nose and make it warm. These are three functions which play a very vital role in our nose, or it takes place in our nose. These are the three important functions of our nose in the process of respiration: filtering the air, second thing, adding moisture to it and making it warm, also clearing the germs from the air. So these are some of the important functions of the nose. Next organ is the pharynx. Pharynx is present at the back of the mouth and it leads towards the trachea. Now, trachea is known as the food pipe. Trachea is actually known as the windpipe, and the same pipe is there which is bifurcated into two halves. One half is known as the windpipe, which helps in the process of respiration, whereas another half is known as esophagus or the food pipe, which helps in taking the food inside our gut or the stomach. So it has to be very clearly understood that, see this entire structure. You can see that this entire structure is there, and this entire structure has a bifurcation. This area is bifurcated. Half of it is becoming the esophagus and another half is the one which is forming the trachea, larynx and the pharynx part. Pharynx part is this entire area is the pharynx part. So pharynx is divided into three parts. Nasopharynx, it means uh, the nose or the nasal cavity in conjugation with the pharynx is known as nasopharynx. Oropharynx, the mouth from where the food as well as air gets inside, that is oropharynx. And hypopharynx is the area which is just below the oropharynx, and just below the palate region is the presence of that area. And hypopharynx is the only area over where the separation of the food pipe and the windpipe actually occurs. So it has to be understood, although not much detail is given in your book. So here it is just a simple idea which you need to develop is that this entire area is known as pharynx, and pharynx leads towards trachea as well as the esophagus. Okay, now when we move further to it, air enters through the small hole. This larynx, or this is the part from where the air enters, and it is known as, it has a presence of a flap like skin. Like this kind of a flap is present over this area. When this flap covers the trachea, or whenever the food is getting inside, at that time the trachea is covered so that the food doesn't enter the windpipe. If a small particle of food or even a small mucus enters the windpipe, it causes coughing, and that's why have mm, we start coughing when we try to talk we are eating. It is not also possible when we eat or when we gulp the food we can talk. We cannot talk while we are gulping the food, or when we are um, yes allowing the bolus to enter inside our esophagus. That time speaking is not possible because larynx is covered with the flap of glottis. Food doesn't enter the glottis because of presence of this epiglottis, which is a flap of skin, and epiglottis actually prevents the entry of food while we are swallowing it. So glottis is closed by epiglottis and breathing stops while we are swallowing the food. This is something which is very important and you should understand it. What is pharynx? Pharynx is the part which is present from our nose, or which is connected with our nose, mouth as well as the lower part of our palate. And later on we understand that the esophagus is a part which is known as food pipe. Windpipe is the trachea part. Both of them, they are segregated or separated from each other with the help of epiglottis. The same pipe is there, but there is presence of a flap of skin which is epiglottis, and this epiglottis covers the glottis when the food is entering, so that food cannot enter the windpipe. And similarly, the food pipe is closed when air is entering inside the trachea. So this is how the epiglottis helps in the process of segregation of air as well as food into our esophagus or the trachea. The next part is the larynx. Larynx is also known as the voice box, and the glottis, it opens into the larynx or the or this voice box. It lies in front of our neck, and it is commonly known as Adam's apple. The This area, it contains two vocal cords, and these vocal cords, when they vibrate, they produce, when air actually passes through them, they start vibrating, and because of which sound is produced. So when we are speaking, basically it is vibration which is giving or producing the noise or the sound. Next is the trachea. Trachea is present in continuation to the larynx. So same pipe. At first, it was known as pharynx, later on, it became the larynx or the esophagus, and finally, it became the trachea when we are talking about the windpipe. We have left the esophagus now, we are just talking about the windpipe. So, you can see this area where trachea can be seen. Trachea has presence, like the entire size is 12 centimeter long and 2.5 centimeter wide in diameter. It has presence of C-shaped cartilaginous rings throughout this trachea. The reason why these rings are present, they avoid the collapsing of the trachea when there is no presence of air within it. If there was no presence of these rings, then the entire trachea may collapse in the absence of air, or in presence of very high amount of air, it may burst off. So in order to avoid this, there is presence of this C-shaped rings throughout the trachea. The inner lining of trachea, it has presence of mucus and cilia, and the function is the same. It helps in trapping the germs which have not got trapped in our nose or the nostrils, and these germs which are trapped over here, they are just expelled out as soon as we are doing the process of expiration, or we are removing the carbon dioxide from our lungs. Next is the bronchi. This trachea, it leads towards, or it just goes down through the neck to the thorax region. After the thorax region, it gets branched off. These branching results in formation of bronchi. Bronchi are these areas which are known as bronchi, and thorax is actually the upper part of the body from the neck down to the bottom of the ribs and the diaphragm. That entire area is known as the thorax part. Now, this entire, in the thorax area, the trachea divides into left and the right bronchi. You can very well see the left and the right bronchi. The bronchi is lined by the presence of cartilage and cilia. The right bronchus, it divides into three branches. The Since the right side is little larger, or right lung is little larger as compared to the left lung, so it has presence of three branches. So you can count also over here: 1, 2, 3. It is dividing into three branches. So three branches from the right bronchus, it forms three branches, main primary branches. They further become, or they further get bifurcated into secondary and tertiary branches later on. Similarly, the left side of the lung, or left lung, is little smaller as compared to the right lung, so that the heart can be placed in between that area. And just because of that, there is presence of just two lobes. So two bronchus, this left side of the lung, it divides into two bronchus, and the left lung is little smaller as compared to the right lung, so that it can accommodate the heart in this gap. And these bronchi, they further divide into secondary, tertiary bronchioles, and each of the bronchioles, they narrow at the ends and they form smooth muscles which allows them to widen and become narrower depending on the availability of air, or you can think of it becoming the alveoli. So bronchioles, they form smaller grape-like structures, and those grape-like structures are known as the alveoli. The structure of alveoli is very important because this is the main site over where the exchange of gases actually occurs. Bronchioles, they open into alveoli, which is a tiny sac or a small pocket Walls of alveoli are filled with capillaries, and it has presence of just a single thin layer of epithelium. The walls of alveoli, they have a very large surface area which is known as respiratory surface. This is the site at which the exchange of gases can occur. Oxygen from the air in the alveoli can diffuse through them into the blood vessels very easily in this area. And similarly, carbon dioxide from the same capillaries can move inside the lungs or the bronchioles with the same um, with high amount of carbon dioxide. So this exchange occurs in the alveoli, and alveoli is as such that it is a thin layer of epithelial cell which has very fine layers or very fine layers of capillaries surrounding it, blood vessels. Now these blood vessels are very easily exchanging carbon dioxide and oxygen according to the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide and oxygen in the environment. Wherever there is high amount of carbon dioxide, diffusion is basically occurring. So what exactly happens, if we want to understand it in a very simple way, it's just that carbon dioxide in the alveoli, it is expelled out to the bronchioles. Through the alveoli it goes to the bronchioles, then from the bronchioles to bronchi, trachea, larynx, and nose it goes out. Similarly, oxygen comes in through the nose, it passes through the larynx, then trachea, then bronchi, bronchioles, then it goes to the alveoli. From the alveoli it is exchanged in terms of carbon dioxide to the capillaries, and capillaries send the same oxygen to the arterioles, then to the artery, and through the artery it moves to the entire blood system or body system. This is how the movement or exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen is taking place at the basic level of alveoli or basic structure of alveoli. Alveoli also has presence of mucosal gland or and high amount of connective tissue. Finally, we move on to the lungs, the entire structure of the lungs. Till now, we were dealing with all the small organs which make up the lungs. Now, the entire structure of the lung. The lung is an elastic organ which is fixed in the thoracic cavity. We have already discussed about the thoracic cavity. It lies from the neck till the diaphragm region. So, the sides of the chest are bound by the ribs. How the organ is actually protected. The sides of the chest, in that area it is protected by the ribs. At the back side it is protected by the backbone, and in the front it is protected by the breastbone. So this is how it is completely protected. The lungs, they are completely protected. Now between the ribs there is presence of muscle. These muscles are known as intercostal muscles. And diaphragm, it is a dome shaped structure which separates the stomach and the thorax from each other. The left lung is divided into two lobes and is smaller than the right lung, which has presence of three lobes. This is something which we have already an idea about when we were discussing about the bronchi. The covering of the lungs are as such that pleura is the covering. There are two layers of pleura. It has presence of two layers, the parietal pleura and the visceral pleura. The outer layer of pleura, which forms the lining of the thorax, is known as parietal pleura, whereas the inner layer of the visceral pleura or inner layer of the pleura which covers the lungs is known as visceral pleura. These pleura help in secretion of a fluid, and that fluid is known as pleural fluid, which is filled in between the parietal pleura as well as the visceral pleura. In between both these organs, because both these membranous layers, there is presence of this fluid. The function of this fluid is to avoid any kind of friction between the lungs when they are expanding and contracting because of getting filled up with air and again contracting back to the same previous position. And this may provide some kind of collision between the ribs, backbone, and other organs which are nearby. So in order to avoid any kind of collision, there is presence of this fluid filled cavity. Also, there is one more important thing. If there is any accident which occurs, we just fall off or we fall down, and in that situation our lungs, they do not burst off or they do not collapse. The reason for that is there is a protective layer, and this protective layer is the pleural fluid. So this is about the structure of the lungs, and the very important part, that is the pleura and pleural fluid. The process of inspiration and expiration, this can be very easily described as process of breathing. So breathing basically refers to the movement of fresh air into our respiratory organ and removal of foul air which contains high amount of carbon dioxide from our nostrils. Now, the process of inspiration, it actually includes not only the external respiration, even the internal respiration. When I say external respiration and internal respiration, it has to be understood. When I say external respiration, it means that intake of oxygen by the blood from and by our blood, I mean the capillaries, and then the respiratory organ and elimination of carbon dioxide from our same respiratory organ, that is the alveoli. This is known as external respiration. We are taking in oxygen in the alveoli, we are getting the oxygen exchanged for carbon dioxide, and we are removing the carbon dioxide back from our body. That is external respiration. What about internal respiration? It includes the entire process. It means that uptake of oxygen by our tissue, that is the capillaries. These capillaries help in oxidation of food in the tissue level. Suppose in our stomach, the food is getting oxidized. After the oxidation, the mitochondria is the site at which, or the cytoplasm is the place where glycolysis is occurring. In the mitochondria, complete breakdown of food is taking place, and finally ATP is formed in the mitochondria. From the mitochondria, ATP is extracted, and this ATP formation or this cellular respiration helps in release of carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide is taken up by the capillaries and they are expelled out through the alveoli. This entire process, which includes the chemical process as well, is known as the internal respiration. So we did discuss about two things. One is the external respiration and the internal respiration. The external respiration is a physical process, whereas internal respiration, it's a process over where we discuss about the cytoplasm, our mitochondria, and the cellular respiration which occurs in our body cells, in the cytoplasm as well as mitochondria, in order to release the ATP molecules. That is internal respiration. What about inspiration and expiration? These are actually the external respiration categories. So just the movement of air inside our lungs, and in the alveoli, exchange of oxygen to carbon dioxide, and again carbon dioxide getting expelled out. So inspiration, just movement of oxygen till our alveoli, and expiration means removal of the carbon dioxide through our nostrils. So this is all about the process of breathing and the internal and external respiration.